Hey, howdy hey, and welcome back to Emily's Adventures in Horrorland. First of all, I'd like to thank my very first Patreon patron, Mary Whiteside. Thank you so much for supporting me, Mary. Now I can get all excited about making bonus content. Also, I have to thank Jack Morrison. You can follow him on Twitch if you'd like to join a hilarious British dude, and old friend of mine, for his gaming live streams.
I'm staying right here.
This video is going to be a first thoughts type thing because I've been given the screener for the movie 420 Massacre, which is soon going to be available on Amazon, link below. Now I did wonder about doing this because I have a feeling that being approached in this way by the writer, director, whatever, often comes with expectations of a positive review or none at all. But Dylan Reynolds is actually a very cool guy who believes that any publicity is good publicity. And in the end I didn't have to worry because the movie is actually very good. So the film opens with two guys called Doug and Buddy talking about a pot of gold waiting for them in the forest. Not because they're novice Irish-American leprechauns, but because there is a massive amount of weed growing there. They figure that stealing pre-stolen weed is a victimless crime. Meanwhile, a group of young ladies make their way to the woods to celebrate their friend Jess's birthday. It also happens to be April 20th, or 420, which is the date of a counterculture holiday for weed smokers. It's explained a bit more later in the movie, for which I was grateful. I've only had this stuff forced on me a few times. Thanks, Mum. It is an all-female group of campers, and my favourite introduction to a character is Donna's, because they open the car boot and she's just there in a cloud of smoke. It's a pretty good entrance, I'd say. On their way to the campsite, the girls bump into Ranger Rick, who has quite a flair for the dramatic, and then a terrified Buddy. He explains that something horrible has happened to his friend, and then passes off a large bag of the stolen weed to the group. Jess, of course, wants to report this to the ranger, but that would mean having to forfeit their recently acquired bounty. So what happened to Doug? Looks pretty monstrous to me. Now, when I saw the movie's trailer, I got the impression that it was going to be a tongue-in-cheek comedy horror.
So high.
But it's actually played pretty straight. It's the story of a group of teenagers who set up camp in the middle of nowhere and get picked off by a slasher killer. I'll hold off on specifics for as long as I can, but it does take some interesting twists and turns. It takes a while to become acquainted with the girls. Towards the beginning of the movie, they kind of speak alike, saying just stock phrases like, "Oh ye of little faith, let's blow this popsicle stand," famous last words. But then when they interact with the secondary and incidental characters, you see their personalities come out. My favourite line in the movie might come from this hunter dude called Roy. I don't have a clip, but it goes, "What are you, one of them big city libtards who doesn't believe in freedom?" Anyway, the girls. Rachel is known as a bit of a womanizer, and has brought along Michelle, her latest squeeze. I noticed them giving each other the eye pretty often in the movie. Rachel also dispenses romantic advice to Aubrey, who has been the birthday girl's friend since childhood and is secretly in love with her. A lot of queer characters in this, not so much exploitation of this. They are actually treated like real women with real feelings. How about that? I liked Aubrey's character the best. The actress really sells me on her crush on Jess, and you definitely feel for her. Birthday Girl herself is pretty likeable. There are a few hints that she may survive the movie. She doesn't smoke weed, she teaches self-defense and demonstrates by throwing somebody over her hip. Interesting. Donna is pretty chill. I don't like to generalize, but a lot of people I've met who smoke the devil's lettuce are pretty chill. But she's cool. She manages to defuse a situation with the hunter from earlier by offering him some reefer, which actually works. The cinematography is really good. First of all, there's a nice fluid use of movement, and even a dolly zoom at one point when the killer's sneaking up on a character, which is very nice. It's shot in daylight, which is a nice change, daylight horror, and I want to thank the filmmakers so much for not relying on shaky cam. It's a real pet peeve of mine. Not so much the moderate to severe kind as a stylistic choice, but more the ever so subtle kind where it doesn't make any more sense to move the camera than to keep it still. I can't bear it, but 420 Massacre saves you from all that. A lot of the music tracks I really enjoyed. At first I wondered how they were getting the rights, but when I went through the credits I noticed that almost all of the songs came from the same few producers, either Angela Winter Defoe or Stephen Solomon. It's available online if you're interested. The score isn't bad either, but now and then I noticed it would swell just a bit too early for the scene. Just a minor nitpick. Okay, time for some major spoilers. Click ahead to skip if you're planning on seeing the movie. Now, the reason I haven't talked about the killer thus far is because he's just been running around looking like an unfinished Muppet, but he's not a weed monster. Not really. We find out that Ranger Rick is the guy's father, and that he's been growing all the wheat, not just as a business endeavour, but, well, suffice it to say there's some social commentary in there about the failings of the government and the healthcare system as they currently stand in America today. And here I was going into this movie thinking that the girls would be presented as morally unfit to survive because they smoke Mary Jane and be unusually paranoid that a monster was chasing them, 420 Massacre is a better movie than that. So let's wrap this up. I don't want to say that 420 Massacre is very good for an independent movie, because I do think that, budget aside, you should hold independent and studio films to the same standard. But it's a very good slasher film in a genre that has so many of them that it's very easy to become overly tropey or cliched. But characterization is well done, the kills look great, the story is engaging, and yeah, I'd happily watch it again. Like I said, the links to buy the DVD are below, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio. And here I was going in thinking that the girls would be presented as morally unfit to survive the movie because they smoke the Mary Jane. Mary Jane? Mary Jane is not my lover.